everybody, this is Patrick from Sasquatch in the Wild, and this is this video is gonna be kind of messed up. When I did the last video, I forgot to add in a little bit of information. I had to rewatch it, and I left that out, and so there was a little section that a little something weird happened before that campfire. So when we were coming back from that hike, we had our dinner, and everybody's just kind of resting out, and the talk of the bonfire was later on after this, what I'm about to tell you. So there were people doing stuff, and I had my camera out, and I had on the tripod, and if you haven't seen it, this is the camera in question. Don't fall. This is the camera in question. It's by Luminix. And I had this thing on a tripod. And I was taking random photographs at night. I love taking photographs of the Milky Way. And so in a lot of these pictures, if you see like the Milky Way going by or the camera panning, it's panning a photograph that I had taken of the Milky Way. And I was doing a lot of that, and I started playing with the camera a lot more on that day, and I found out that there was some settings that I've never seen before. And there's still things I'm learning about this camera. One of the things that I discovered is that I could film almost like daytime photographs at night. So I could see the surrounding area around me. I could see into the darkness, and it was showing me kind of really like daytime photographs. It was really weird. So there was a moment where there was a lot of people complaining about all the people that were camping in that row behind Janice were complaining about noises coming from that ravine or where the creek runs through it. And if you're going to a Bigfooting event, this is part of the equation. You have to experience something. If you're going out Bigfooting and you don't want to experience anything, then what is the point? You just want to find the footprints. You want to find the tree structures or the tree breaks. You want to find the tree twists. You want to find what? Do you want to find Sasquatch? And that's part of this whole shebang of things, is the discovery of something that you've never seen before. But if you're just going out there just to kind of hang out with people, and I'm gonna be like Rob, and I want to be in the hot spot. Well, everybody in that row was in the hot spot, and they just didn't know it. If you're going camping and you don't want to, and you're in the Bigfooting event and you don't want interaction, camp away from the hot spots. Don't hang out near the forest edge. Don't hang out, by yourself. Hang out with a group of people and make sure yourself is like in the middle of everything. So that way Sasquatch doesn't really necessarily get to you. They kind of like, they'll bother the people on the edge. They won't bother the people that are in the middle. That's why I really didn't get that much interaction. But the people like Janice did, because they're right on the edge. And this is part of that equation. If you're going to camp it, then expect something coming from it. Don't sit there and, complain about it. Just accept the whole scenario. Let it play out. It'll be done before you know it. But it will feel like 1,000 years before something stops, even because you'll hear the noise all night long. Now, the thing about Bigfooting and normal camping is, regardless of the situation, you don't know what's running around outside. Your mind automatically thinks Bigfoot. It can be a raccoon digging through your stuff and not even know it. You're going to think Bigfoot. It could be a moose walking through, and you can hear the heavy footfalls, and you're going to think Bigfoot. Unless you unzip your windows and look outside and physically see a leg walk by that looks like a human leg but full of hair, then you can say Bigfoot. It could even be a person rummaging through your campsite, and you're going to think Bigfoot. But you will never know unless you catch video evidence, photographs, or you have visual sighting of that thing. Can you say it's not Bigfoot? Or you can say it's Bigfoot. You have to have one of those three to actually truly say that's what it was. Visual sighting of eye shine, you can say it's Bigfoot. There are some other things that can do eye shine, but you have to know what they are. And in your area, you may not have those things at all. It's going to be hit and miss. But this night, I was probably about 60 feet from about 60 feet from Robin. She was standing at a gap, and the trees came down like there's a perfect little gap, and there was a lot of people kind of watching this gap. And she walks up and she goes, "I can see you. I can see you. Hey, everybody, please. I know you're out there, but please leave the campers alone tonight. Please don't bother them. Please don't do it. You're really making them uncomfortable." Do you think that stopped them? No. They kept coming out anyway. But I had taken my camera and I filmed her, and I just took a random photograph of her and the tree line and everything, because I was still experimenting with my camera. But then I started noticing that I could film. I was taking odd shots. Now, even though a lot of my photographs were blurry at the time, I just deleted them right off my phone or off my camera. But I kept taking photographs, and people were kind of taking notice, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just taking pictures. You can see in the dark." And I was like, sometimes I can get the right kind of lighting coming in through the aperture, and I can see. And this woman automatically looked at me and like, "Oh my God, he's using his night vision camera." And I looked over at her and she was like running off to Rob, and I was like, "Are you?" And I went, "No, this is my 35 millimeter." And so we're both yelling at her that it's a 35 millimeter. "No." And she just went straight to Robin, told Robin, "He's using his night vision camera." And she's like, "Ah." And so she comes running back towards my camera, and I'm like, "Oh my God." She goes, "Are you using your 35, are you using your night vision?" I said, "No, this is my camera. I said, "My night vision's in the car." "Well, what is this?" I said, "It's a 35 millimeter DSLR. It's just like the camera you carry in your pocket, except it's better." And she was like, "I don't understand." I said, "It's a 35 millimeter. That's all it is. Okay?" And she's like, "Better not be the night vision." I said, "Do you see a big red glow coming off this? I mean, this is just a little red light that pops off this, all my photographs, day and night. It always has the same thing." "Okay." And so she storms off. "No, it's his 35 millimeter, but he better be telling the truth." But I'm going to shoot photographs of daytime photographs that were taken at night. And you can see the not the Milky Way, you can see the Big Dipper in the blue sky. And it's weird because I was like, "What the hell?" I thought it was pretty cool. So that was that event. So later on, we did the bonfire, and then after the bonfire is now where we're going to start this. So we're done. We end up going back to our campsite. Now Mike had left. I don't know how he left without anybody noticing it, but he got up at some point from the bonfire, went out, packed up his small tent, and he was gone. He was gone pretty quickly. Um, we get back and we're hearing. At first we get back to the camp, and people are kind of weaning back into their tents and stuff, and you can kind of hear after we got in, after everybody got situated, you could hear things kind of happening down in the creek bed, and there was a handful of people that really didn't like it. I mean, they were still complaining about it. I got an itch. They were still complaining about, oh God, not again. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Hey, you guys can all hear that. That's neat. And, so I'm enjoying it because I can now hear some of the stuff that's happening. And I'm not too far from the row of people. I'm actually really close to them. And I'm starting to hear that stuff. And Darla ends up going to sleep, and I'm still awake. Well, about an hour later, I start to hear what sounds like kind of like a wood knocking sound. And it's a sound that I've heard before, and I'm going to start it right about now. Now, you're going to hear this for a while because I'm just going to let it play out. This is just a reenactment of what I heard. That drum pattern that you're going to hear is a lot like what I heard that night. I've heard another pattern that is slightly different than this. And when I do that video, I'm actually going to pull my conga, or I'm going to pull my my Irish drum out, and I'm going to play it by just using my hands, because I'm pretty sure that's what they're using is their hands. I've heard drumming before in the mountains, and it's really kind of odd because it's something you don't expect to hear, especially drums. And this had a drum feel to it. It had a variety, almost you could hear like an octave type sound. If this is a log drum, or yeah, I guess that'd be the proper terminology. Log drum would be right. That's one thing. But I have heard a really deep drum sound, almost like someone took a mallet and struck a bass drum without a second head, and just has a boom sound to it, and you can hear the resonating sound, and it's really pretty interesting. At the same location where I heard this cadence type sound, I've heard that drum sound. So I am pretty sure that evolution is coming into play here, because there are some things happening. I don't know if it's happening in the rest of the United States, but it's happening in Colorado. There is some odd drumming going on. And one of the sites that I was with Brian and Jim and Darla. And Darla and I slept all the way through this thing. But Brian woke up and he started yelling my name. And I didn't hear him, but my recorder heard him. And at that location, I was hearing boom, 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 boom. So there was octaves going on, and it really sounded like a drum. But at this location, I was listening to that drum sound a lot, and it went on for quite a while. And it started off in the distance, and I could hear it coming all the way through, and it seemed to stop at about, there was a tree that's not too far from here. Now I looked for this photograph of this tree. I couldn't find it. So I drew a picture of it today, or actually yesterday. And I was hoping for the photograph because I didn't want to draw another picture because my hand was going to sleep. And I didn't like that sensation. But regardless, I went ahead and drew this thing up, and I'll put it here, or I'll put it over here. And when I got done with it, I was like, yeah, that's about what I'd seen, what I experienced when I went down there. So the next morning, we get up and we're looking around at stuff. Now, Harriet had given a handful of people marbles, and we were all putting out patterns and stuff to see if things changed. And the marble line that I had done got squashed into the ground, like something had stepped on it. So I don't know if I had visitors playing with the marbles. Now, I did hear the marbles kind of clicking around a little bit. That was about the extent of it, and I didn't think too much after that. But some of my marbles were pushed into the ground, like either they got stepped on or they got pushed in. And it's that was kind of interesting because I don't remember doing that to the marbles. Um, but when we got up the next day, we were talking about stuff, and some people heard that drumming. It wasn't just me. There was other people that actually heard it, and they were kind of demonstrating it. And I was like, that's exactly what I heard. So we started to tear down our campsite, and we were going to hang out for a little while anyway, because we're not too far from Denver. And we tore it down, and we just put everything back into the car, and we went up and we had breakfast with everybody, and we were talking about stuff, and there were people taking photographs and that sort of thing. And I took a couple photographs I took one of Harriet, and I got a picture of Robin and her dog Rue, and Janice, and a handful of other people that were there. I know I got pictures of Dan and Mike as well, and they're all on my phone or on my computer, but I'm not gonna show necessarily all that because I don't know if they actually approve or disapprove. But as we're sitting there, Robin shows up and she's like, "Okay, I got some stuff here. You guys want to buy some of my stuff?" And I was like, "What? This is supposed to be a camp outing. This is supposed to be Bigfoot outing, not let's buy Robin's stuff." And this is what it became. When you go on a Bigfooting outing, it's not always about product based. Let's see what we can sell to the people. This is about experiences, and this is what it should have been about. But she brought out wood knockers that she had made, and fence things saying, "I believe in Bigfoot," all this stuff. And I was like, what? This doesn't feel right. Because it should be just all about camping and having fun. And then she turned it into kind of like a money-making thing. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. So I was like, no. So I stayed for a little bit and then kind of helped people pack up, said my goodbyes to my friends, and we packed up and we left. And that would be the extent of this video. So the next video that I talk about, which will be on time, which will be on Sunday, will be of Yellowstone. And that video is freaky. It's freaky. But I'm going to show you what led to that. And I'm going to talk about weird situations that led to that. And then there was a strange, what I think was a Bigfoot encounter in another part of Wyoming that involved poaching. And I was there for that. And that was weird too. I wasn't necessarily there for the poaching because I am totally against that stuff. But I was camped in an area that there had sporadic campers, and there were hunters a distance from us. But we heard, or I was outside, and I heard shots being fired, and then everything went silent. And things that happened after that tell me this had to do with Bigfoot. And maybe they were hunting the same thing that these guys were shooting at. But my name is Patrick, and this is Sasquatch in the Wild, and I hope you're enjoying the journey. I'll talk to y'all soon.